Hey Kathy, how you going?
I'm good. How are you, Bede?
Yeah, I'm going good, thank you.
Good.
Now, what I wanted to a question that came up with someone that I was talking to, my wife actually.
Mhm.
She says, "Okay, so I'm never upset for the reason I think, right? But why is that? Why is that? I mean, it's all very well to say, well, I'm never upset for the reason. So when we right here, right now, as I am, when I suddenly see, I'm never upset for the reason I think." There has to be a spiritual understanding come alive in me that shows me that that's the case. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense because it really does seem that my health upsets me, my economic situation, the political situation upsets me, the condition of my body upsets me. It seems very strong that way. But when we say I'm never upset for the reason I think, it means that I'm upset for another reason. And so when we come to the chart, what I mean, Ken's chart,
Hmm.
um, which he calls, which is concerning God and what is God and what we really are. I'd just like to go over that a little bit this morning.
Hey, we
Okay.
could start. Yeah, that sounds good. At the top of the chart, we have God, heaven, truth, and those are described as God is described as all in all. There is no time, place, or state where God is absent. So then the question becomes, when you're looking at the chart, the very top of it, why am I not aware of that? And so the rest of the chart explains why we're not aware of God in a moment. Why in that statement, I'm never upset for the reason I think, it contains a really important recognition. I am upset. How
Right.
can I be upset if God is all in all? So the
Okay.
chart answers the question.
Okay. So what we're saying is that that the presence of God is the only reality.
Yes,
Is the only reality. It's the only thing that's real.
right.
But that presence of God includes us because in the Course Metaphysics, ourselves as Christ. So when we're talking about the word Christ, we're not talking about the Galilean who lived 2,000 years ago.
No.
We're talking about our real nature. So
Yeah.
when we say that God is all, it's not that there's God and there's us. There's a
Right.
perfect oneness that includes us. But this, so us as Christ, so we have the life, light, and fullness that is God,
Hmm.
and that very life, light, and fullness is our life.
Yes, and Ken used to talk about how terrifying it is for anyone identified with their ego to hear that. If that's true, then what am I?
Yeah, right. So so just getting back to, so um, he also says that the Course says that where the Father, there's no place where the Father ends and I begin.
Yes.
So we're talking about perfect oneness, and this perfect oneness is the only reality. There's
Yeah.
nothing outside reality,
Right.
right?
Right.
So there's nothing beyond this. So there's no place where this isn't here.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting thing. So when I was studying Vedanta in India, they talk about the all pervasiveness,
Mm.
that God is all pervasive, which is a very consoling thing. So this means that in reality, my real home, the only place that I've got a home, that's the only place where happiness
Hmm.
is in God as Christ.
Yes. Nothing else exists.
Nothing else exists. And so when we talk about, when the Course says that we're at home in God dreaming of exile,
Mhm.
there's no pain and suffering when we're being at home in God.
Right. Right.
But
In describing it as a dream shows that it's unreal. There's reality and then there's unreality. A dream
right,
is not real.
Right. So when we're dreaming, we're cut off from the fact that we're at one with God. We're at
Yes.
home in God. We're cut off from that fact cognitively, not in reality, but we
Right.
imagine that we're cut off.
Hmm.
And by being cut off, the natural and inevitable consequence of that is upset.
Yes.
Is
It's
upset.
upsetting. And any kind of splitting off from believing that we separated from it, which is the denial of truth,
Hmm.
we experience truth's opposite. Instead of love, we experience hatred. Instead of peace, we experience war and conflict, and the way that plays out in the world. But if you look at the idea of separation, the idea of splitting off from, um, even in fantasy, which is the only way you can do it,
Hmm.
it equals a murder because a splitting off from, a denial of, is a form of saying we murdered that part of ourselves because we're no
Right.
longer
So
aware of it.
right. And if we so if and hence we see with what the chart tells us is that we have this when we choose that we're actively choosing to have a life separate and apart from God, to have our own be. This is and this is we're totally unconscious of.
Yeah.
But immediately downstream from that, it's even downstream on the chart. We have when we cut off, what happens that goes along with that is, first of all, a sense of alienation or separation,
Hmm.
which is sin, which plays itself out in our life as loneliness, separate and apart, a deep, deep loneliness and emptiness that we want to fill. It also plays out as a tremendous self-hatred, and it's so horrible, this self-hatred. We then project that self-hatred and we hate others in order to deal with it.
Right.
And we have this complete fear, because we're no longer immortality. We feel that we can be completely destroyed, because as Christ we can't be destroyed.
Right. And the
And
only
so
thing
we
that, go
go.
on.
No?
Well, the only thing that can come from that whole thought system of sin is a fearful world where we are afraid all the time.
Right. So when we're talking about what happens in terms of the chart is that implicit's an interesting word. In Latin, it means it's folded in. Do you know what I mean? So it's something, it may not be explicit where you unfold it, implicit in it. So
Yeah.
implicit in this choice, this active choosing, which is happening now. It's not like, oh, one day it happened in the past. I'm actively now. My problem is I am actively now choosing to be separate and apart from God in order to preserve my own be.
Yes. And that answers the original issue you brought up. I'm never upset for the reason I think. That is the reason we're upset, that choosing. And everything that came from that follows from the original choice to be separate.
Right. So it's not like it happened once in the past. Right here, right now, as I am actively choosing to preserve my own sense of identity. The problem is the pain of that is the sin, guilt, and fear, or loneliness, extreme self hatred, and fear of destruction that
Mhm.
follows down from it. And then that's so frightening. I want to get away from that. So then to get away from that, I go into a world, right, where of the material universe that will the further away I get from the pain, which is the furthest away, is being I'm here. I am. I'm a person in the universe. I'm a victim of circumstances and everything else, right?
Right.
Then that way there's a barrier between what they call the face of innocence. The face of innocence cuts off the fact that I'm actually bubbling with loneliness, bubbling with self-hatred, and bubbling with fear.
Yeah.
And now I'm caught up in this world where I can keep away from that. So my attention's away from me where the problem is. And
Right.
I'm always pointing outwards. Yes, it's that, it's that, it's that.
Yeah. That original instant when that choice was made, the Course says we relive the instant of terror over and over and over again. But not one note in Heaven's song was missed, which speaks to the eternal nature of the truth and what we really are. And so that chart describes that unholy instant, how it all followed. This followed, once you join with the idea of separation, everything in the chart follows after each other, leading to the world you just described. We walk around terrified, unsure of ourselves. There's no sense of safety that means anything here, and there's no reason for us to believe that we're not upset for the reason we think. At least until we are exposed to that idea and understand the premises of the Course that would lead us to really understand the words, I am never upset for the reason I think, and how impossible that would be. That something outside of me hurt me.
Right. So what we're looking at is that we're not interested in the Course metaphysics for the metaphysics.
Yeah.
The chart enables us to look at our experience in an entirely new light because I look at my experience through my own eyes. You know what I mean? So when I look
Yeah.
at my life, I look at it, yep, I'm this and those people are that, and I take it for granted that what I'm seeing is true.
Yeah.
The problem being is so, but the Course, what the Course presents is an entirely new way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can see that we think that the meaning of our suffering is our body, our economic circumstances, our relationships, what's happened in the past, our fears about the future, all of this sort of stuff. But the one fundamental fact is that the real meaning of our suffering is that we think that we're separate and apart from God. That's the real meaning of our. That's what holds uh, our view in place. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what causes our life, our suffering, and all of our problems. We think it's external problems in the world, but in
Mhm.
actual fact, it's a problem that exists with me in the form of an active choosing to have a life separate and apart from God, which I'm completely unconscious of,
Mhm.
but I blame the world. I blame something else.
Yeah.
And that way I keep away when I'm blaming something else, I'm blinding myself to the fact that the problem is centered on me.
Yes. In order to perpetuate the dream. Um, yeah, and I think one important piece of this is we never deny our experience here. Our experience
Hmm.
here is horrible. Um, and the proper use of denial is to deny the cause, the way we've set it up. So the Course is a mind training course on how to look upon all things differently. And I just wanted to kind of pull in that piece. It's never a denial of being upset. It's never a denial of what seems to be happening in the world or how it seems to be very consequential. It's
Hmm.
only a denial of the cause, um, which we perceive to be outside of ourselves.
Now that's really interesting because I think denial of experience is nuts. We're not denying that a dream is going on
Right,
because
right. You can't deny that.
no, and because in the Course we want to actually, the whole purpose of the Course is that within this dream of perception, we embrace an entirely new life, a new way
Yes,
of
you
living
look at it differently.
and to be able to live in this world differently.
Yes.
And and so when I just lost my train of thought. So so here we are. We when we're caught in being, I'm being cool and presenting well and all of this sort of stuff, the face of innocence, so that I can feel good about my life, and and I keep away from the fact that the problem is centered on me because I blame and all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's very important, isn't it? Because the starting point of the Course, when I'm lost in the dream, fighting and struggling in the dream,
Hmm.
I'm mindless. I'm completely and utterly mindless.
Yeah.
But I noticed that, I can be upset, but not even aware of being upset. I'm mindless being upset. Then suddenly I become mindful and I go, I'm upset.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting thing because it's an introduction of something new into my life. I'm upset. And now I can actually, because the teaching of the course and in terms of the metaphysics, it comes alive in me as a perception. I am not upset for the reason I think. The reason I'm upset is that I think that I'm separate and apart from God. Now that's an entirely new way of looking at my situation, because before, that's my wife. That's her. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
But now,
You just described the miracle.
right, yeah. So the very I have to be very honest, because I'm bubbling with loneliness, self-hatred, and fear of destruction, and my whole life in the world is a denial of that fact. No, I'm a nice person, I'm full of love and all that stuff, right? Or I'm a horrible, nasty person. Same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When I'm caught up in that, it's very important to be able to, in one sense, become mindful of, right now I'm being upset. Right now I'm being angry. Right now I'm bragging. Right now, it's extremely important, because when I'm seeing that, that's the action of the Holy Spirit, isn't it? It's tapping me on the shoulder. Wake up. You're caught up. Oh, yeah. So you get tapped on the shoulder. You were just completely lost in a direction. And it's interesting that, that the movement outwards away from us it has force and it has direction.
Yeah.
And I can feel that. You know what I mean? It's yes, it's them. Right?
Feels
So
good.
yeah. So when suddenly the my eyes are awakened to the fact of, I'm upset, that's the presence of the Holy Spirit giving me a new set of eyes. First of all, I'm upset, so I'm not lost in it anymore, right?
Right.
And then with the spiritual understanding alive in me as my way of seeing, I'm never upset for the reason I think.
Yeah.
That I'm suddenly reminded of the spiritual understanding that my fundamental problem is I'm separate and apart from God. And the only solution to my life is becoming aware of God's presence. But I can't become aware of love's presence while I'm hating myself, hating other people, and hating the world, can I?
No, you can't. And the Course describes the miracle as doing nothing. The miracle does nothing. It reminds the mind that what it sees is false. What we need to be reminded of, what we're seeing, is the cause outside of ourselves. The reason I'm upset is, like you said, because of what everyone else is doing. And in that moment, when you have that experience, that is the miracle. That is the invitation to the Holy Spirit. It's the presence of the Holy Spirit. It is a reflection of truth within you, and you'll experience yourself differently and see the world differently when you um, allow that.
One of the things I found very interesting is in the course psychology is that, people often with various type of spiritualities, it's about me and me becoming aware of me and becoming enlightened.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the course is that we have this tremendous self-hatred, and so that every time I'm have an attacking feeling or a harshly judgmental feeling or an unloving direction towards other people,
Hmm.
that is my actual self-hatred projected.
Yeah.
And now, and this is what's interesting, the way, so if I resolve my hatred for my brother, I resolve the self-hatred in me. The only way, if I'm hating my brother, which is hating myself,
Yeah.
unless I actually arrive at a point of forgiveness in relation to my brother, there's no possibility of resolving the self-hatred that exists in me.
And like the cost of your salvation is his.
Sorry?
The cost of your salvation is his.
Yeah, the cost of,
The
sorry?
cost, like you can't be free if any prisoner walks the earth. So the cost of your freedom is your brother's freedom. So
Right.
you
So
can't hold him in chains to something you're escaping. I think that's a really important point because we're all in the same boat here.
yeah,
That you there isn't somebody who's more in chains than another person's in chains, you know.
right.
We go together. We're all home or we're practicing.
Okay. So what's interesting about about this is that in heaven we're all together, we're all one,
Mhm.
right? Here, down here we're kind of separated and apart.
Yeah,
So if we want a reflection of heaven,
yeah.
it has to include loving others because we're being loved. And so when I'm looking at another human being harshly and unlovingly, no matter what they're doing,
Hmm.
I'm not seeing that they're my brother. I'm not seeing that I'm seeing them. I'm not seeing them rightly. So again, the course is metaphysics. How do I look upon my brother? Do you know what I mean? So if I see him as a horrible, nasty, despicable, deserving punishment entity, which is very hateful on my part, by the way, when I'm looking at it,
Yeah.
I'm actively dramatizing my self hatred, projecting it there. So I'm actually seeing myself. He's the bad one, when in actual fact, the self hatred belongs to me.
Yeah. You are um that projection. I just think I would just add this. You're every figure in your dream because it's happening in one mind. So you can't attack anything outside of yourself because there's only one mind. You can only attack yourself. So you're seeing something that is not there when you attack something outside of yourself. It is part of the dream hallucination. I'm putting it there because I want to see the guilt outside of me. It's not objectively outside of me.
Right. So this is part of the dream of separation because there's only the life, light, and fullness in God,
Yeah,
and what we are as Christ in that life, light, and fullness. That's the only reality. And your brother is part of that, whatever. That's what's true. That's what's
right.
real.
Yeah.
So in the act of forgiveness, which we say is a reflection of God's love in the world, when uh, I'm no longer blaming others. I'm no longer holding anything against anybody or anything.
Yeah.
I'm being forgiving. And so that's how, so let's say, for example, having an argument with your spouse and suddenly you go, oops, I'm never upset for the reason I think. And then you go through the process of forgiveness, which we have discussed, where we we withdraw the projection, then we arrive at the problem that's centered on us and how we're stuck in it, and then we ask for help, and then when the Holy Spirit comes alive in us as a new mind and heart, we're lifted out of it, and we're being forgiving, and we realize that 5 minutes ago we were sure the other person was hurting us. Now we see that they haven't hurt us. We actually have proof of it because we're no longer upset. We're no longer blaming them for our unhappiness. And
Yeah.
we're being peaceful because when we're being forgiving, uh, we're at home in God in the reflected form, not as Christ, but the reflected form of being at home, a reflected form of the the absolute here on earth, right?
Yeah.
That's what enables us to really see that before I'm absolutely sure she or he is upsetting me. I'm the victim. That's what I am. Now that's all through the process of forgiveness. That's all disappeared. And here I am. I'm not looking at the person hatefully. I'm not looking at myself as a victim. That's all disappeared. And
Yeah.
I appreciate a mind that's clear and a heart that's non-disturbed because I'm resting in God. I'm at home in God. So
Right. Yeah.
when we're talking about the process of forgiveness, it's you know how they talk about it's a journey without distance.
Mhm.
We start the journey right here, right now, as I am, I'm blaming.
Yeah.
That's the start. Right here, right now, as I am, I'm at home in God. So it's a journey without distance, but it would not have happened without the understanding of the metaphysics of the chart, the understanding of what God is, what our real nature is, what the real nature of our brother is, what the real nature of our problem is, because it's centered on us and it's our act of choosing. So when we choose something different, then what happens is human life can become a reflection of heaven now.
Yes, and I think through the study of the Course, that part of our mind, that sleeping part that is the truth in us, is awakened.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, we withhold judgment. The ego can't withhold judgment. It's impossible if you're identified with the ego. So if you're withholding judgment in a moment and experiencing that forgiveness, you must be with the truth in you. You must be looking through the eyes of that truth, whether you call it Jesus or the Holy Spirit or the truth that walks with you. So in that moment, you can clearly see it's all made up. There's nothing to fix in the world. Nothing went wrong at the level of the world. Something went wrong at the level of the mind.
Now that's an interesting thing, because this doing nothing, you see, what I find really useful is that when I'm suffering, if I try to do anything about that suffering, if I try to do so, I'm making it real.
Yeah.
And then I'm battling with it. But if I remain in that suffering, you know what I mean? Was it the first step? Like, do not forgiveness stands back and does nothing. Is that the saying?
Forgiveness looks, waits, and quietly does nothing.
Yeah. So, so when
Withhold judgment. Sorry.
right. So when here I am, I've stopped blaming my spouse or my wife, or I've stopped blaming. I'm stuck with the pain that's centered on me. Then there's a very strong temptation to do something about that, right?
Right.
and split yourself up between the fixer and the fixed, right? Which ruptures you, right? But we're talking about the simple thing of is a complete honest acknowledgement of my condition, but no movement against it, because I understand that anything I do from the problem is just more of the problem, more of me.
Yeah.
And then complete reliance on the shining light and life of the Holy Spirit to illuminate my mind and my heart. And then I'm drawn out of that being stuck to being brought back home again in reflected form. So I think the Course is a saying called I'm resting in God.
Yes. And see, in that moment, you're not invested in the outcome anymore. So if your hand's on a hot stove, you're going to take your hand off the hot stove, but you're not invested in what happens here anymore when you realize you're not upset for the reason you think, when you have the holy instant that you just described. So the world's going to keep doing what it seems to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take our hands off of hot stoves
Mm-hmm.
and get, car insurance and what we're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
do, but we're not going to have such an investment and take it so seriously anymore. We're going to lighten up, which is what Ken focused on very much so.
Right.
Don't take it seriously.
Right. So when we understand that the only happiness is a life that's reflective of being in God, so that my only home is God.
Right.
That, but if I am not living a forgiving way of being in the world, and what I
Yeah.
mean by that is I'm not holding grudges, I'm not preoccupied with the past, with regrets, I'm not worried about catastrophic expectations in the future, and there's no self-hatred in the present, because if I'm at home in God, I'm at home with myself, of course. That's the psychological thing. That's the only thing that releases me from the self-hatred. And because if I have self-hatred, I will repress it and project it. I will hate people, and I'll
Yeah.
hate myself, and I'll hate the world. So we're talking about transformation through the process of forgiveness, but we have to understand the process of forgiveness in the light of the metaphysics, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. Because it seems like, yes, that person is attacking me and I'm upset with them, and they might, on the functional level, being unkind and cruel. That's not the issue. The issue is, if I'm at home in God, no one can take anything away from me. But when I'm caught up in myself and my sense of identity as a person in the world, one object in a world of other objects, first of all, I have a compulsion to get things in the world to make me happy, and I've got a fear that things can be taken away. So
Yes.
what we're looking at is we're looking at this dialectic between being at home in God and dreaming of exile. And what the Course does for us, it opens up our eyes to the fact that this, in actual fact, is a dream of exile, and that is what your problem is.
Yeah.
And your only solution is to wake up from that dream and come back to being at home in God.
Right. When we stop playing the blame game, we'll experience our true power, the mind's power, to choose again and see that not one note in heaven's song was missed.
Right. So without the metaphysics, without the understanding of in absolute terms, so we use the metaphysics as a principle.
Yeah.
A principle of cognition, so that we can actually see my experience with a new set of eyes. Because without seeing my experience with a new set of eyes, I remain the same.
Yes.
I remain in me as separate and apart.
Right. Perpetuating it. And so we'll ask ourselves, what happened? And the answer will always be nothing happened. And we can see that in the chart. We can see that in the denial of truth. What really happened? The denial of truth. That's what happened.
Yes, and we can see the truth of the fact that it never really happened. We're not saying it as an
Yeah,
obtruse
nothing
metaphysical
happened.
principle.
Yeah.
Like, here I am, I'm upset. So
Yeah.
I'm in friction with someone. I'm experiencing myself, my life in being as an upset person and a victim. I'm experiencing them as a horrible and nasty and despicable and deserving punishment person. And then when the process of forgiveness happens, I disappear as this victimized person. They disappear as this horrible person that I have to see. So I have experiential evidence that it was just a dream, because I'm now, the situations in terms of the world or the terms of functions remain the same, but because I'm different in relation to it, I have an existential verification that I was dreaming, and I can see that, and now I'm experiencing life entirely different. In the moment of forgiveness, I'm experiencing myself, other people, in the world in an entirely different way.
That is the only way to see that it was all made up. There is
Yeah.
no other.
So without the understanding of the teaching of the Course in terms of the fall and what God is and what we really are,
Mhm.
we can't understand our everyday experience in the right light, can we?
No, we can't see the part we play in it. We can't see that because of the smoke and mirrors. The ego is great at the magic trick of making it seem as though I'm always upset for the reason I think. It seems, but Ken used to say, just see the moment before you're upset. There is a choice that's being made, and you can catch that just before. Um, then we can uh, see things differently.
Right. And as you said before, we don't go away from experience. We're looking at our experience. We're using our experience. We're going, I'm upset. Now I can begin. I'm upset. I'm blaming. Hey, wait a minute. I'm never upset for the reason I think. And that recalls the spiritual understanding that my real problem is I think I'm separate and apart from God. I'm now caught. Now I'm no longer projecting. So therefore, I'm back with my suffering centered on me. I don't deny that suffering, because if I try and deny it or do something with it, I'm not doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? I'm making it
Yeah.
real. And then I pray to be able to see this in the right light, to be able to see the fact, please show me that I've never been away from home, that I'm right, that my home is right here, right now, that God is ever present. I don't have to go somewhere. And then so I'm from the beginning to the end, I start with the experience of myself right here, right now, as I am, and I end with the experience of myself right here, right now. One was a reflection of the dream of separation, or was it the home of God, dreaming of exile?
Yeah.
And the other is a reflection of being at home in God as Christ.
Yeah. Those
Well,
are
that
the
sounds pretty good, Kathy.
yeah. It's up to us.
Right. All right. Well, I just wanted to clarify that point because if you have if you think the metaphysics is something separate and apart from experience, when in actual fact it's an instrument to be able to see our experience in the right way, so we can bring about this transformation in us through forgiveness.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's right.
Okay.
We understand it intellectually and then we practice it every day.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.